Hello and welcome to a new episode of Open Tech Will Save Us, in which we try to understand the social impact of software and how open source and open standards can make it more positive. Our focus today is on education. Primary school, high school, higher education, college. I think I couldn't have found a topic with more regional variants to confuse everyone. But education is nearly a synonym for the future. Education is all about sharing our most important values and skills to the people we care about. Whether we give our kids an education or whether we're an instructor sharing skills with adults and professionals, we're not giving something away. We're providing a structure, a frame, a safe space for mistakes so others can develop. Sharing knowledge, allowing others to experiment, reviewing others' work, learning from others. Does it sound familiar? Yes, it sounds a lot like open source. Today my two guests are Martin Dougiamas, CEO of Moodle, a learning platform you very likely have used if you went to university or engineering school, and Dominic from Alexis, a school management system currently deployed in schools in Germany. Let's start with Martin, who did us the courtesy to join live when it's already very late where he lives. Martin, can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about what Moodle is and who uses it?
Thanks, Thibaut. Yes, I'm calling in from Perth, Australia, where I live, and I've been working on Moodle for over 20 years. Moodle is a open source learning management system. So it essentially the structure of it is similar to a traditional institution. So you have imagine a campus online, which is the website, and it has departments and it has classrooms. And in those classrooms, you have students and teachers interacting around activities and resources. And there's a lot of grades and there's a lot of management. There's a lot of connections to other software, student information systems, for example, or resources, or all those things. And it's become very popular. So 2/3 of the world's universities use Moodle as their learning management system in some way. It's also used in all those sectors you mentioned. Actually, a really interesting one is all the corporate training and learning that happens on Moodle. And even like military, a very large amount of the world's military defense organizations use Moodle. And that's an interesting one. So that means we have a very large community, and we have an opt-in registration process, so people can tell us if they're using it. And from those people who've told us that, it's about 300 plus million users, and in all countries and all around. And we had a conference recently, a global Moodle conference in Barcelona. We had 840 people came from 60 countries for a week of the most amazing week, actually, really high energy, because all the people who use Moodle are educators, and they care. And the things you mentioned, it really is about passing on the species. It's about keeping us on track as far as the species goes, to try and learn from mistakes of the past, try and set people up to build the future. So it's a very, very exciting area to be in.
Fantastic. I was distracted for a second because I was looking at the chat, and we already have somebody who is telling us Moodle is such a great open source success story, especially given its focus on education. Great guest for the Open Tech Will Save Us format. And I agree. Moodle is indeed really successful. It's undeniable. And I was wondering, why creating it in the first place? Why did you want to create a new platform?
Well, back then, really, my first experiments were in 1999, and I did a few different prototypes. One was in Python, and one was in something called Zope. Then I started doing them in PHP. I was at a university trying to solve a problem that was right in front of me, which was the internet was just starting to get interesting. The web was arising, and uh, universities could see some potential, but there weren't really tools around back then. It's different now. Now there's a million tools, but at the time there really wasn't. And I tried to use what was around, and I couldn't make it work well for my university. And so I started studying education. I had a computer science background. I was working at the university as a IT consultant, basically. But I started doing a master's and then a PhD in education to learn more about communication and education, and then started experimenting, building tools for real teachers who were around me. So it started from there, and at some point, I put it on the internet, of course, and I started building up the open source community, and it's grown very, very consistently since then. And it's been a lot of work. It's not just something that happens. It's something that I work at every day for, all my waking hours, pretty much for the last 20 years.
That's
Moodle now I have 250 people in the Moodle organization at the core of it. We have 100 other companies that are partners that are part of the support and the sustainability, and all kinds of relationships with other people around the world.
that's a really interesting story, and it's fascinating to see how you could start with a single customer, which was not really a customer because it was your employer back then, and how open source and opening it up allowed you to get more people's interest and get new features, etc. Which leads me to the question, is the market of learning platforms saturated? You told us that two-thirds of people were using Moodle. Do you have any specific competitive advantage that make Moodle especially interesting as compared to other platforms?
A lot of them are not open source for a start. And a lot of Moodle installations you'll see in the wild, you won't even know they're Moodle because they're so heavily customized and rebranded, you can't tell. Moodle is a huge toolbox, a Swiss Army knife of features, and usually people only use a very small percentage of them, and they turn it into something they need. So in that way, it's a little bit like an operating system. It's like Linux or something. It's all those Silicon Valley companies with their billion-dollar unicorn valuations. Everyone forgets to mention that they are all completely reliant on Linux to function, not to mention huge stacks of other open source software. So a lot of that is sort of hidden, and it's same with Moodle. There is a lot of competition in the education space, and we competed with Google and Microsoft and Apple, and it's tough when they are controlling the very devices that we use to reach into the internet. And a lot of what we've been doing in the past few years is scaling up to meet that challenge so that we can move fast and improve more quickly and get into new fields of technology, including messaging, including AI, and including VR and AR. All these things, I think, are something that we're going to be expecting soon.
Interesting. VR and AR. Can you tell me a bit more in how it's going to translate in Moodle, or is it too early?
Well, I can look. It might be too early in the interview, but I can certainly talk a lot about it. It's not a direct translation. You don't just put a PHP monolithic application into VR or AR. I actually think the interface of education in the future is more likely to be what Matrix is doing. It's more of a messaging interface. So lots of messages coming to and from your devices that you're wearing this all the time, and you would, in my vision, you put yourself into a learning mode. I'm learning this at the moment. I'm becoming an engineer, or I'm interested in physics. So your glasses are a sort of interface that overlays the education on the real world. So if you're becoming an engineer, suddenly when you're looking at roads and buildings, you start seeing relevant information about those things. When you're looking at the world, it's like a learning layer on top of your world. Now, in the back end, there will be learning management systems and classrooms of a sort that are somehow managing and guiding that. You'll have connections to educators at some points, but it's a lot of it's going to be messaging. A lot of it will be broken down into a feed so that you become immersed in a feed that's very, very customized and helping you to learn whatever it is you need to learn.
And do you think the open source nature of Moodle is going to help to integrate with VR technology or with AI in general?
No, not much. We're actually working on next-gen platforms from scratch. A 20-year-old PHP application is not what we all want to be using in the future. You can get by a lot using cloud technology to install this stuff, but it's a new stack. It's all got to be done from scratch. So we're working on that, and that's part of the Open EdTech project, which is a new association based in Brussels, and I'm bringing together people around that to come up with this framework of learning and work together and build new things in a new way. And I think if we all work together, if all the institutions work together, it's bigger than Google, it's bigger than Microsoft.
Yeah, all working together on single projects. That's one of the strengths of open source. I usually say open source is more about sharing a burden and making sure it's not going to become your own by making it sustainable. Talking about sustainability, there was one little event that happened in the past few years, which was the COVID crisis, or the COVID plural of crisis. I don't know how to pronounce that in English.
Crises.
So this saw the rise of remote learning in universities and of remote work in many companies. Did this give Moodle a boost?
Look, it was a very mixed bag, actually. There was some people had been doing online learning for a long time already with Moodle and other tools, and some of them just went straight through, no problem. They hardly any change. We were already doing it, they say. The people who hadn't yet got into a technology online learning scenario panicked. There was a ton of panic, and whole countries panicking. So we were in conversations with entire ministries of education on a global level, and they're all like, we need something by Monday. And so we were putting together partners and trying to do these big jobs, and very often something like Microsoft could easily walk in and say, oh, we'll just give you this for free, and that's something we can't do. We can give our software for free, but not all the services they wanted. They always wanted everything just given to them on servers, and that's not easy to just spin up in a week. So there was a ton of false starts, and then a lot of people just going, well, I usually teach in a classroom, so now I need to teach on a video chat. And they're jumping into Zoom, and they're jumping into Teams, and jumping into all these solutions. Then after a while, realizing, wow, you actually need to manage learners. There's a lot of data flying around. You can't just, if you're having assignments and quizzes and grading, and you want to, that's just the basics. There's a lot of very advanced things you can do in Moodle and online. So after a while, they started realizing and then coming back, and then we started having those conversations again. Oh, look, actually, no, we really do want to have a proper learning management system. And so it went up and down a bit for us, and there was a huge wave of interest at the beginning, and then there was a bit of a tailing off, and then everything's coming back again. So that's how it sort of flowed. Generally, we were very busy the whole time, and we grew something like 40% a year just in the number of Moodle headquarters staff. So yeah, it was busy.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. 40%, it's difficult to keep it sustainable. You need to make sure that you are not growing too fast, not scaring people away. You mentioned that Microsoft could come in, just kick the door and say, we're going to give things away for free for everybody who wants it. And you could not afford to do that because for Microsoft, it was just marketing budget. But you, as an open source project, providing free software, free as in freedom, not free as in gratis, you need to earn a living. How could you make Moodle sustainable if it's a project that's used by university or companies that can get it for free?
Yeah, and this is the big question, and there's an easy answer. It comes down to the nature of the universe. The universe, uh, a lot of the software and a lot of the internet, what we're talking about, is electrons, and electrons are cheap and free, essentially free, and you can make copies of electrons at no actual cost, and that's why digital makes sense, and that's why open source makes sense, and all of that. Somebody's time is, we're made of atoms and molecules and cells, and that takes support. So anytime a person is being asked to support another person, anytime somebody is being asked for a service, it makes sense to charge for that. And so most open source projects have settled on services of some kind as being their major sustainability. And at a very early stage in Moodle, nearly probably 18 years ago, I had a very singular decision point. I remember sitting down one evening going, do I want to run a giant company just controlling all the services, or do I want to outsource that so I can focus on doing the R&D and building software? And I chose the second. So we outsourced the services I found people in the community who are interested in doing those services, and made a contract with them. We call our Moodle partner contract of 10% royalties. So I would recommend people going to them if they need help, and they would pay 10% of the gross revenue back to the Moodle project. And then I would use that to hire as many developers as I possibly could. And that's how we would all work together. And that is what we've been doing for 20 years. In the very recent years, like actually starting last year, we've actually started to acquire some of our partners and bring them under the Moodle family, because having products and services working even closer together, it leads to a better result, and it helps stabilize the whole network. And that's been an interesting, a good step forward. We still have lots and lots of partners, but we also have Moodle official internal services. And so in the end, I did become the CEO that does have a lot of services and product all at once, but it's okay. You learn over time.
As somebody working for Element, I find it to be very good news to see that you can have scientists who escaped the lab, made a product, and eventually it becomes sustainable, and eventually it becomes something that is going to be a super polished product that everybody wants around the world. So it's very encouraging for Matrix, which is already quite popular, but I think
It
not
really
as
is.
much as Moodle right now.
Well, yeah,
Talking,
it's growing. Sorry, it's growing fast, Element, and I love the project. I love Element and Matrix, and I'm a big supporter.
yeah, thank you. And with absolutely no subtlety coming from someone who loves Matrix, is Moodle federated and would that make sense for education? I'm taking the example of some universities in France that are relying on Nextcloud, which is a federated file sharing solution, and some universities decided to federate with each other to be able to share documents, for example. Would that make sense for Moodle?
Um, not not generally. There are some cases. So one of them is file sharing, which you just alluded to, which is a common thing. Sharing resources, especially open education resources or OERs. And we have a separate project that is a federated distributed system. It's called MoodleNet, and you could imagine it like a Pinterest. It's a way of collecting and curating resources into lists and then sharing it. And we've designed that as a federated system, and lots of people can run these things, but you can also search the whole network and find resources and um, find quality resources. The idea is to let the quality stuff bubble to the top. And that way, if you're a teacher and you're looking at a blank course, that one click away is this MoodleNet federated system, and you can find really easy, good resources without spending, days or weeks, using search engines and checking copyrights and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we have that. The other part is the messaging. I think it's becoming more and more important that we're able to talk between institutions, whether that be text, audio, or video. And we don't need to build that again because Matrix exists. So we're building that into Moodle, and at the center of Moodle, so that it becomes more and more the interface by which you interface with Moodle itself, but then also you can use it for so many other things. So the best part is we just work together with Matrix and integrate that. The rest of Moodle, it's hard. Architecturally, it's a couple of million lines of PHP code, and it's the things that you'd want to have federated are very limited, I think. We have it's more sort of piece by piece. But as I said, we want to work on a new stack for the future and a new software. We're starting on that process now, and that's very exciting because I see that as being a completely decentralized system with decentralized file storage, decentralized CPU, decentralized everything, and it needs to be like that to avoid risk.
So
Because
just before moving to that, you
Yeah.
have my curiosity about something. You mentioned resources that can be freely accessed and that are decentralized for teacher. Is this a sort of marketplace for courses where teachers can get lessons?
We're not worrying about any economical model for that. We just want it to be open. We want it to prove itself first. And open education resources have been agreed on by UNESCO in 2019. So every country in the world agreed that open education resources are the future, and that all those countries, with the exception of the US, because they're not part of UNESCO, but every other country agreed we have to shift our policies, we have to shift our funding away from big textbook publishers to open education resources. And that's a tremendous thing the world did there. Now we just need to implement. And part of the problem is there's not enough tools around, and there's no standard for storing the stuff or sharing it, evaluating it, and so on. Lots of little projects, but nothing broad. And we think because Moodle being so widely used, we can help leverage our community into something and kickstart that process right now.
That's fascinating. That's a really interesting take. We have two questions in the chat. The first one is, what's Martin's take on the split of building the standard application versus customer-specific adaptation to strengthen important customer relation or grow a specific use base? Does the question make sense to you?
Yes, totally. I mean, that's always the issue in programming, isn't it?
Yeah.
In developing software, you need to find that right balance. I think we found a good balance. I like to use the example of an operating system, and I think the ones we're used to, like iOS or Android or Mac or Windows or Linux, they have that same dilemma. You want something consistent, you want it to be standardized, you want it to move forward and bring everyone along on a journey. At the same time, you want to allow everybody to tweak the hell out of it and make things. So you end up with some sort of app or plugin structure. So Moodle the M in Moodle stands for modular. It's a modular object-oriented dynamic learning environment. And it was built very, very modular from the beginning. And in the core of Moodle, there are something like 400 or so modules that are standard that get maintained by the core team. And then there's another 2,000 written by the community that sit on top. And it's a very important part of let's say, the operating system group to support those developers. You need to look after them, provide them with information, help them upgrade. APIs are going to change, and you need to lead everyone along on that journey, and that's part of our responsibility as Moodle. So that's the general thing about it. I think we found a fairly good balance. One problem we have now in Moodle is that there is no sustainability for those 2,000 developers doing the plugins. And so we're working on a kind of app store, in fact, that would mean you don't need to install that software. So it's all GPL, it's all open source. And you can always get it and install it in your server if you want to. But if you don't have the ability to download and install plugins and run a server, we'll offer something that runs in the cloud, and it fits into your site as if it was local, but it's sort of in an iframe. Effectively, we have a standard in education called LTI, Learning Tools Interoperability, and it means we can kind of fake it. And to have access to all those 2,000 plugins, you would pay a subscription fee, and we would share that fee with the developers 50-50. And that way they're motivated to maintain their plugins, and people are paying for services, and it's all good. It's a win-win-win.
That's fascinating. I know, so with my GNOME Foundation hat on, we are working hard on making payments possible on FlatHub. And it looks like the super easy version of what you are doing. Basically, FlatHub wants to be a sort of app store that you can use on GNOME, on KDE, on whatever you want, as long as you can have Flatpak on Linux. So basically, it would be click, you can do a donation, download, and it runs on your laptop or your computer. And it's already really, really difficult to sort out all the things from a legal standpoint. So you are going to have to do that. Plus, you are going to have to figure out how to get that to dynamically run in the cloud and integrate in Moodle. Honestly, I'm super impressed that if you manage to do that, because it's an impressive challenge, but it looks really, really exciting.
We have a pretty good. It's a bit easier for us because the main interaction is the main site needs to send user information to the plugin. So here is a bunch of people who are going to use your thing, and they over there in the plugin they do something, and at the end there's probably an assessment. There's some grades, and those grades come back. So it's users one way, grades the other. So it's quite a simple concept, and it means you can enable all kinds of rich functionality in our world, in the education world anyway.
That's really cool. I'm excited to see it in practice happening.
Yeah, so
but can you tease something? What's next for Moodle?
Well, so Moodle, the big thing is getting messaging into the center, as I mentioned, and the plugin system. They're two good ones. There's a lot of UX work, simplification that we've been doing lately to modernize the interface. 20 years old, you can imagine what websites looked like 20 years ago. Things have come a long way, and we also have apps. We have things like that, but there's a lot of UX work, and that's going to keep going for the next couple of years. But what I'm really excited about is this Open EdTech thing, which is the next gen stuff. And so there will be a Moodle next gen that is part of that. But I see in that framework lots of other things. And one of those things is a learner dashboard that would sit out there in the cloud on this completely federated system. You would own it completely. It would never disappear. There would be no risk it would ever disappear because it's all sharded across so many systems. And in that environment, two big things have happened. First one is every time you get a credential or some sort of recognition of something you've done, you can feed it back in, and it sits there in your learner wallet, like a wallet full of all your credentials. So like LinkedIn is trying to do, but without all the fakeness. So LinkedIn, you can type whatever you want, right? But in a proper wallet, every credential must be linked back to the person who gave it to you or institution. And if you're going to show it to anybody, I need to, if you show me a credential that you got, I want to know, okay, who are these people who gave it to you? So I need some indication of reputation. And that reputation is probably based on other people's reputations who said, yes, that institution is a worthy one, or they're good at something. So you end up with a web of trust model in there, which is like very similar to, remember, public key signing, GPG and that sort of stuff, that we need to build all of that. And I'm not saying Moodle's going to build it, but I'm pushing and connecting with other people who are working on these things to try and standardize on it so that we can all go, okay, we all agree. And W3C are working on a lot of this, and other people too. So we just need to make it real. That's the first part. All your credentials are sitting here, and the second part is it guides your learning. So there'll be an AI in there, an AI you own, an AI you can trust. It doesn't run. No one else is controlling that AI. It's not from your institution. It's something you could get as a child, and it would develop with you. And it gets to know you. It knows what you know. It knows your timetable. It knows your life, and helps guide the learning experiences you choose. So it's like a YouTube algorithm that you own that is now helping you select learning opportunities. Enroll in this university, or take a course down the road, or here's a 1 hour lecture or video to watch, and helps you fit it into your life. So it knows through your devices, oh, you've got half an hour free right now. Why don't you watch this video? And I think this would be a really tremendous thing. The key thing is it can't be owned by any .com. It can't be owned by any .org. It can't be owned by any .gov, because all of those things, at some point, we can't trust them. We have to build something that's as stable as internet protocol. That's like a completely federated system that's kind of neutral, and that doesn't matter who turns their servers off, it will keep going. And that's what really excites me, is like I really want to be part of driving that with people who are around. And if anyone's here is hearing that, and you know projects that you think are very suited, I would love to know at openedtech.global, or you hit me up on the matrix.
So Open EdTech is an organization at the moment, a think tank to work on these issues.
Yes, at this point, it's just trying to flesh out the vision of the entire framework, because there's other pieces as well. There's the learner part I just talked about, the classroom part, the organization part, and the education resources. If we can flesh it out and mock it up, actually, as like a working prototype, so everyone can go, oh, you know what, that actually, I can see that working. If a lot of people agree, yeah, that would actually be a very cool system. I'm working with UNESCO. I'm working with a lot of World Bank. There's a lot of projects and money around, but they're all spread out. And I feel like if we could just have a picture that we can all agree on, then we can build it in a completely open way, and it would be tremendous. So yeah, at this point, it's a lot of people interested, working through these details and starting to document. And it's early days, but we welcome anybody who is interested to come along.
Okay, so it's on openedtech.global.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I'm really happy to hear about such initiatives, because usually, I'm going to do a confidence. I don't really like the name of the show. It's Open Tech Will Save Us, and I think tech alone is not enough to save humans. You have to be humans in the loop at some point. We cannot just rely on tech. So I'm really, really happy that there is an initiative like yours to finally tackle some problems that are not purely technical. And I'd like to have your take on something. Do you consider open source to be a technical solution, or a systemic, an organizational solution, or both, maybe?
It's very human. It's how humans work together. If you're in a room with a bunch of people, like a cocktail party, there's no copyrights on what people are saying. There's no proprietary stuff. People just talk and share, and that's how we work. Academics have always done that in the past for many thousands of years. Human knowledge has been something people usually just put out there for free, and it's natural. For me, it's a way of working. And on a longer scale, looking at this thing behind me here, over the last billions of years, we've come from single cell to multi-cell to these, the Earth has grown people. And now a bit of the universe is looking at itself. That's us, right? We've come out of the planet, out of the universe. Now we're looking at it. And a lot of what we're doing and interested in is how do we now all join together? How do human beings become organizations or groups? And instead of electricity between cells that's going on inside us, we have electricity going between us, right? We're wiring up the world, forming these larger creatures in a way, organizations, governments of movements of all kinds. And those are the things we should be building intentionally, because we really don't want to be building something that destroys us, or for obvious reasons. We don't want to be building things that are harmful to us. I grew up on a lot of science fiction, and I feel like, we're just at the early stages here. We're just getting our planet sorted here. We're going to be heading out there in next tens, hundreds, thousands of years. So let's just make this place a very happy, equitable place. And the roadmap is clear. UNESCO, UN have made that roadmap. All the countries have agreed on that roadmap. It's called the Sustainable Development Goals. And those 17 Sustainable Development Goals are exactly all the things we need to solve. And we won't solve it through companies who are profit-focused, who are fighting and undercutting and creating a hostile environment of control, of people becoming billionaires through the roof. It's just a bit sick, and to me, it feels like a kind of it's getting a bit out of control. And I love everyone in open source. I just like, if you get open source, then that means you get this kind of willingness to work together for a common future, a happy future where things are fairer and better, right?
All right. Well, thank you very much. This is a very pleasant response. I really like the fact that Moodle is, well, about education, which is the future of humanity, but doesn't stop at just doing education. There's a global vision, and that's very pleasant to hear. Is there anything we forgot to mention that you would like to talk about?
No, I think you've asked very good questions, and you let me rant appropriately, and I feel like I should probably save some time for Dominic if he's here. So maybe something will come up later.
Well, thank you very much for bearing with us, Martin. I think we can wish you a good night of well-deserved sleep, because it's a bit late where you live, or you can stay with us if you want. It's up to you, but I definitely understand.
I'm actually keen to hear about from Dominic. So yeah, let's.
All right.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Pleasure.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Martin, for bearing with us. And Dominic, let's move on to Alexis. Dominic, you described Alexis to me as a fully open school information system. Can you introduce yourself and tell us more about Alexis and what it does? Aha. We're seeing a black screen, Dominic. I don't know if something failed on your computer or if Jitsi is playing tricks on us because it wants to be replaced by Elementcall quickly. I can see some positive change on my Jitsi. I can see an avatar. I can see a display name, but I can't see your screen. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, I can.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay, let me try to enable my screen sharing again.
Go ahead.
I'm on a mobile connection because my wired ISP broke down this morning. So I'm not quite sure how the bandwidth is. So you should be able to see my screen now.
Not really. My Jitsi is saying video for next screen has been turned off to save bandwidth, unfortunately.
Cool.
Do you have a deck of slides you want me to share?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so you can send them to me in DM. I'm going to do a little dance for the audience.
I will send the link here in Jitsi.
Yep.
Oh, no, I can't because the chat feature seems turned off. Okay.
Well, you can send it on Matrix to me.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I can still introduce myself, and yeah, hi. My name is Nick, and as the introduction to OpenTech will save us suggests, I'm part of a German organization called TechIt, and we are, as one of our projects, developing the school information system Alexis. Yeah, so maybe I should start with some words on what a school information system actually is supposed to be. So when we look at an educational institution, then there are several different aspects of how it works. So the first part, obviously, is the learning itself. What the contents, the topics that students get taught in, that teachers give lessons on, and all that stuff, or even online courses and decentral courses. That is all centered around
Oh, I was muted. I was telling you I'm going to do a little dance because Nick dropped, apparently.
Okay, let's try to reconnect. Hi.
Hey again. Welcome back.
Okay. Yeah, this is also great. Okay. Yeah, let's try again. Until what point could you hear me?
Sorry, I can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and until what point could you hear what I was describing?
The very introduction of Alexis and why you had created it.
Okay, can you give me a hint on what was the last thing that you heard from me?
I'm afraid you spotted me. I was trying to fight the chat and OBS to make sure that was not me who had my connection dropped. Would you mind starting like 2 minutes in?
Okay, so
Thank you very much.
Okay, I will try. So there are two big aspects of making learning work in an educational institution, in a school, or whatever the organization might be. It might also be a makerspace that gives extracurricular education, and they obviously cope with the question of what is being taught and what the skills are that students will gain in lessons, in courses. And the second big aspect is the organization. So the answering the question of how they are supposed to gain these skills. So, and Alexis is an organizational system. It's not coping with the contents of learning like Moodle does, but it is concerned with the structure of the school. So this being a school information system means that it manages anything that is related to the information about students, teachers, everyone related to the school. their personal core information, their names, which courses they are in, the classes, the course groups or afternoon clubs or whatever they belong to, and also plans. So in a traditional public school, timetables, substitutions, if there are some changes to the schedule, and all kind of information of that sort. Another thing mostly used in public schools might be a class register, where lessons are documented, where notes are being taken on students, on the contents of a lesson. That might be a thing mainly for public schools. In Germany, this is defined by law, how lessons have to be documented, and stuff like that. So, and Alexis is a free school information system. There are quite a few solutions for such software as proprietary software. I am mostly knowledgeable of that in the German-speaking area, and for those attending from Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and that region, there is a very well-known system called Untis by an Austrian company, and they have for many years already produced such a system as closed source software. And there are some open student management systems or school management systems, but we think that Alexis is practically the most complete and most modular one. It is developed by students and teachers together with software engineers. So we don't just code on something that we as developers think might be good for schools. We really work together with schools and teachers to find out how they want to work, what they need to manage their school. And the most important thing is that Alexis has a strong goal to integrate with other platforms. And I think that's the one of the most important aspects of open tech, the integration, because we all have ideas probably why open source software and free software is a great idea for society as a whole. But especially in education, there are some strengths that really play out in education, like the software being very adaptable, learning being a very individual process. Schools also need to be very individual, and their management, the how and the how about the question of how they organize their school and their students must be as individual as every single student. So obviously we need adaptable software instead of just making one software product that is sold to every school, and then they can find out how they transform their school to match the software. Instead, we should obviously make the software tailored to the individual school. And it is comprehensible. So I think that tools that are used in education must always be usable for learning. If you cannot disassemble it and hack on it and find out how it works, then the tool is not a good tool for learning situations. So it would be great if I could see my slides here in some way, but I'm afraid when I share my screen again, then Jitsi will disconnect me again.
We can try a little something. Let me fiddle with OBS to see if I can clone a scene and try to show you slides. I'm not sure I can do that when I'm broadcasting. You're watching a show where we are doing very experimental things.
Yeah, I'm very sorry about that.
No worries.
I
It
will have a
happens.
serious talk with both my ISPs, both wired and mobile, tomorrow, I think.
Okay, let me try to add a window.
Okay, I will continue the audio part. What makes Alexis special is the idea of very tight integration. The platform shall not only manage the students and courses and classes and plans of a school, but the goal is that Alexis can be made to federate with all kinds of other platforms. So taking Moodle as an example, we can go, and once we know about the organization of a school, we can federate that out into Moodle and create courses, and the teachers and students assigned to courses and inscribed in courses to mimic the organizational information that is held in Alexis. And we can, for example, also federate out to Matrix. That's something that is already implemented in Alexis. So now, once we know which classes the school has and what subjects are taught in these classes, we can, with a push of a button or even automated in the background, we can replicate this into Matrix and convert it into a structure of matrix spaces and matrix rooms, so that every class and every subject group, every course that is taught gets their very own chat room, nicely structured, with the students and teachers being automatically invited in all relevant chat rooms, up to the point where we enter a substitution into the plan. So we have a lesson in the regular timetable, and this is substituted by a different teacher. And now we need this teacher to get the appropriate rights in the chat room of the course. Or with Matrix, even in the third room of that course, or whatever can be done with Matrix. And what we do not want is that if a lesson is, for example, substituted, someone in the school has to go and make this visible in the timetable, and then go and provide the substitute teacher with the rights to manage the chat room or the digital whiteboard or the Moodle course or whatever, and then go to the next system and do the same thing there. We want them to only have to do this once in their school, and Alexis federates it out to all the interconnected systems that work with the organizational structures. Yeah, that was the introduction, I think.
That's a very good introduction, and we already have one question, which is, given the open modularity approach, is Alexis only for educational institutions or also others?
We try to, yeah, that's a difficult question, because we often ask ourselves this very question ourselves. Of course, Alexis is it comes it was created in schools, and all its modules are made for learning. So we have a very slim core component that can actually be seen as the core of a general ERP, enterprise relation system, or customer relation management system, which is often found in businesses. So yes, we are even making an ERP system with a good stack of modules that can be used in schools. But there's quite a series of terms that are specific to education spread around in the application. Like we are talking about a school year instead of a business year, and so stuff like that. But it can be imagined as an ERP. Yeah.
It's always difficult to stay focused on what is your core product, and it can be really, really tempting sometimes to try to do all the things because it's technically possible, but does not necessarily make sense from a functional perspective. I do have a question too. You describe Alexis as a sort of all-in-one solution to manage everything in a school system, but you also insist on interoperability. So why does interoperability matters this much?
There is this old saying, this old principle from Unix, which says you should do one job and do that well. And we already have many products on the market, not only in education, that do so many things all at once, and they do none of them well. I might name products here, but I think I will refrain from that. But there's one big company from the US who are constantly moving everything, all kinds of features that you can and can't imagine, into one platform. And what teachers often say, yeah, this is somewhat nice because we have many options, and we just get this from this big company. But it's also a big mess because we don't find the features, because the features somewhat look like an office suite, and that's feedback that we often get when we talk about replacing or finding alternatives to these proprietary solutions. So we really want to focus on Alexis managing organizational information, because we know we can do this well, and Alexis can do this well. And once we get asked, what do you recommend for making a video conference, we might say, nowadays even say, yeah, wait a few weeks, we will recommend Element and Element Call. Or we might say, we recommend Big Blue Button. Or when we are asked, what do you recommend for doing online courses, we normally say, yeah, you should go with Moodle for that. What then happens is that schools say, but we have so many different components then, and we need to manage all of them. So there comes the interoperability part, because we think that the acceptance of open source solutions that are all doing one job well can grow a lot when we also provide a platform that helps orchestrate them all, and makes it easier to make it look like a single platform that integrates nicely.
That's a very interesting take on that. But integration can be something quite difficult, especially when it's on a product you are not used to, or when you don't work in IT at all. Sometimes you would like to have somebody to do the integration for you. Do you provide professional services or paid support for Alexis?
Yes. Alexis is managed or spearheaded by TechIt, which is a nonprofit organization. And we have a set of regularly 5 to 6 schools that we work together with very closely, where we help them introduce Alexis to their school. We have regular feedback meetings with a whole staff, or with a subgroup from the staff, or even with students, and we find out how Alexis can really help them, what could be changed, what could be improved to really improve their daily learning life. This is what we do as a nonprofit, and there are also in Germany currently 2 IT companies that provide professional support, including hosting and consulting, not only for Alexis, but also for many other software products that can be combined with it.
Interesting. And do you have a partnership with those companies to keep Alexis sustainable?
Yes, we do have partnerships with them. I might add a full disclosure here because both of these companies are actually run by active Alexis core developers, so they are somewhat close to the project. But every now and then we see companies spark up somewhere on the internet when randomly entering the software name in a search engine and finding out who writes about it. From time to time, it happens that an entirely unrelated company comes up, and we find out that they are starting to offer Alexis support. And in the future, we will reach out to them and discuss, basic standards that we would like to agree upon, so that the project becomes sustainable and instead of fragmented by having commercial support.
Very cool. Do you plan some new features for Alexis? Do you have a public roadmap, some things you would like to tease us with, or is Alexis completely finished and over?
Alexis is never finished.
Good answer.
Yeah, there might be software that is finished at some point. I don't know whether you can do a lot to the GNOME calculator. Maybe you can. Yeah, I don't think any software project is finished at some point. And there are many things that we either plan for Alexis or that will at some point influence Alexis. Things that are coming up in Alexis, which is on our public roadmap, which is sadly currently not translated into English. We posted it for some partners in Germany. I think I will make the English translated post available this week. We are currently working on integrating digital signage solutions so that flexible display content from the organizational information Alexis can be made available in the school on signage screens. Concerning the Alexis integration, we are following very closely the Are We OIDC Yet project that was presented in the last OpenTech Will Save Us, so that Alexis, which already can be an OpenID Connect provider, will integrate very nicely with Matrix once this Are We OIDC Yet project gets to a conclusion. Have I forgotten something very important? Oh yes, we are currently working together with a public administration in Germany who want to manage who want to federate with school server solutions like Debian Edu or Puavo, and we help them make Alexis also orchestrate the user databases and the device management of these solutions, so that they also have a single source of truth for those. As TechIt, we are working also on educational concepts that will at some point influence the software as well. For example, and I was very excited when Martin was talking about this global decentral learning and skill portfolio, because that's actually one thing that we are also working on under the name SkillFlux. We are imagining a global decentral graph of people who have a skill set that they already possess, so things that they already have learned, that they already can do. And their learning goals, their aspired skills that they want to learn, that they want to be taught in, that they want to discover together with other learners. And we imagine a global graph where different educational institutions can have attendants who want to get from the things they already can to the things they want to learn. And they help them do that. And they all have a global portfolio of things they have learned, of things they want to learn, in a truly decentral manner. That's something that we work on as a concept, and such things will at some point also influence Alexis, of course, because we would want it to to be a component in such a system as well.
You mentioned once or twice the name of Tech Kids. Can you tell us a little more about that? I seem to remember from reading the archives of matrix.org that you had very interesting projects, like making some DIY projects with kids to teach them technology. Can you expand a little on what Tech Kid is and what you are doing?
Yeah, there have been a few mentions of related projects on This Week in Matrix in the past. TechKids was founded already 10 years ago as a fork from the youth program of an open source conference here in Germany, because we at the start we helped this conference introduce a peer learning concept for their youth program. So we said, we should not just get some adults, make some lessons and make some workshops here. We want the children to bring their workshop topic and show them to people the same age. And this helped growing this youth program from around 5 to 6 children each year to over 100 children every year. And at some point, we figured that this might be reason enough to factor that out into a separate organization. And from that, we have by now grown 3 projects. One of them is called Schulfrei, a German pun resembling of school. It's the pun only works in German, and which is concerned with free software in education and helping schools use free software and open source. And the second project being Hack and Fun, which is concerned with showing young people the creative aspects of technology, showing them that technology can be created and can be changed and modified and not only consumed. Like every child virtually nowadays knows how to consume technology. But there's still a lot to be done to really show them at a young age that all the things that they consume can also be created, and how this is done. This is where it happens that we get together on in a youth camp on a big meadow on a tent play on a camping site. And they solder things and make them talk Matrix, those Internet of Things. That's things we do. And the third project is the conceptual work, like Skillflux, which I just explained a bit. That's a third project. TechIt is kind of roof for all these projects, helping or fostering this community of very diverse people. We really encourage people of all ages to work together, to learn from each other, to share interests, and just show one each other what they have learned, what they have experienced with, and stuff like that. This is what TechIt does as a fostering organization.
Fantastic. I really like the fact that you are not taking the magic away from technology, but you are turning little kids into little wizards to make their own magic with the technology. It's a really interesting approach to the problem. Is there anything you would like to talk about that we forgot to mention?
I guess we have covered many important aspects of open technology in education. I really think that we, as a community, as the people who are kind of savvy in creating technology, we need to always keep in mind that the people who are able and want to create technology are getting younger and younger all the time. When I started using free software and contributing to free software, I imagine I might have been one of the youngest people contributing to free software. I was 14 and a half years back then when I made my first contributions. But today, I would not be the youngest person. At TechHits, we regularly see people as young as 9 or 10 years making contributions to open source software. These contributions might be very, very small. It might be just a bug report. It might be a correction of a typo. It might be something that they don't understand in a manual, even not with help, because it's written in a way that doesn't match the software or something. They might ask a question about that to clarify it. And all these contributions are exactly that. They are contributions, and they help drive open technology and free software forward. A big issue that I see is that the ecosystem is moving more and more towards closed platforms. Of course, Matrix is not. Matrix is a very, very important core technology for open ecosystems. But so many free software projects are not only using GitHub, which they have done for a very long time, but they are moving their communities to Discord, because they say, everyone uses Discord, but Discord actually says if you are underage, if you are not 16 or 18, I'm not sure right now, years old, there is a strict limitation. You cannot use this platform, even to the extent that they say not even with the consent of your parents. You are not allowed to use this platform. Of course, we know that many kids use Discord for gaming, even though they are not allowed to. But as an open technology ecosystem and community, we should strive to provide legal and safe ways also for young people to get started in creating open technology. That's something I cannot stress enough, and I often do at conferences, to the point where people really dislike me for it.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick. Yes, to provide a safe environment for kids, we need to double down on moderation. And I know this is very sensitive topics these days. This is something we may be talking during next Open Tech Will Save Us. I'm going to prod a few people to see if we can talk about safety. That would be an interesting topic. Or if you have other ideas for topics, actually, you can give me the ideas in the Open Tech Will Save Us room, and I'll do my best to find interesting people to talk about that. I hope you enjoyed the episode about education as much as I did. It was very interesting and insightful for me to get answers to all my questions. I hope you don't have any other question left. If you do, you can leave them in the room as well. Hopefully the speakers will be able to see them, or if they are not able to see them, I'm going to chase them and you will get answers. I see you around next month. See you around. Open Tech Will Save Us. Goodbye.